Welcome back to Bet Haven, the safe place for safe plays. We are back again for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. If you've never been here before, we are going to give you guys some picks and projections for the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. Last week at the Travelers, Chandler had a really solid week.
Absolutely. Had a great week.
I picked Ludwig Aubert as my favorite play, and I had him on a lot of different stuff, and it's really hard to have a good week when the guy that you pick finishes dead last in the field in strokes gained putting.
Yeah, he had a tough week. Look forward to him. Look forward to seeing him next time out. I would think that he would be a good pick.
He had a tough week, yeah, as far as the finish goes, but he was fifth in the field in strokes gained tee to green.
That's what
fifth,
I'm saying.
And dead last putting.
Next time out, we'll be on the lookout for him. I could see a spike week from him.
Little bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, I had him across the board. He was my favorite play, and I had him on every single DraftKings squad. So it's just hard to compete when you've got that much exposure and at that price with that kind of finish. So you definitely carried the load last week.
Yep, I had a great week. Cashed over 1,200, mostly from one DraftKings lineup that had Scotty Scheffler. I had a ton of Scotty Scheffler, like I said here on the pod last week. Scotty Scheffler was my guy. This was a great approach course, and Scotty Scheffler is the approach guy. I had him on 87% of my DraftKings lineups. I want to personally thank everyone out there for not picking him. He was like 26 to 30% owned. That's ridiculous. You guys jumped off way too soon. You got a little bit of a discount. It was the move. Scotty Scheffler. Also, how relieved did Scotty Scheffler look when he realized those cops weren't coming for him? They were going for the protesters. That dude, I swear, he started to get on the ground. He was ready to get cuffed.
Little PTSD.
Yeah, he was so relieved. Ended up winning in a playoff. Good week for Scotty. Good week for me.
Tom Kim, who's also in the field this week, looked very composed. Looked ready to take the reins and take the win. After he sank that putt on 18 to force a playoff. And then
that was after the chaos too.
Yeah. The protesters running on the green. It looked like they had like colored smoke bombs or something, or paint or something. Yeah. And then Tom Kim sinks the putt. The playoff, I heard someone talking about the numbers, like going over the numbers with his caddy. He had 110 on the approach. And he gave him a lob wedge. It's one of those deals as a caddy where your guy at the end of a tournament is your adrenaline is a little more maximum. Yeah.
And so sometimes you end up nuking clubs a little bit further than you normally would hit them. And I think that he was playing for just a maximum number on that club because they had moved the pin up.
Right.
They moved it away from all the paint and the powder stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They moved it up, which made that carry number on that bunker even smaller. And so they were just trying to hit that number perfect. And unfortunately, Tom did not crunch it. He just kind of caught it a little off and it plugged on top of that, which really did him in. So yeah, kind of unfortunate there at the end. But looking over the numbers, he had a great week. But yeah, we'll get into that. But he had a good week, stats wise.
Well, I mean, Scotty with another win. He's still charging. I think that he said he's not going to play the Genesis. We're not going to see him again until the Open Championship. And I guess we can at least try to make some money in between now and then because we've got this tournament, the John Deere, and then Genesis to take advantage of. And then we can start going back to the either betting Scotty or winner without Scotty market, depending on how you want to play it. But let's just jump into this week. Rocket Mortgage Classic, Detroit Golf Club. I think it's Detroit Golf Club. Not a super long course. I think it reads out something between 7,300.
Yeah, it's 7,300, par 72. So you're getting 4 par 5s here. Probably going to see another very low scoring week, similar to last week. Expect to see the winning score to be in the 20s, that minus 20, obviously. Yeah, it's going to be a birdie fest again. Look for birdie or better guys, par 5 scoring guys. Distance is a bonus. Not necessarily you have to have it, but like I've said before, it's always a bonus to have a little bit of extra distance. So that's kind of what I'm looking for this week. Oh, and hot putter again. It's very similar to last week, honestly, except with the par 5 thing. I think is a little more important this week.
Yeah, you're gonna get similar numbers as far as the approach stuff goes. But yeah, this is a drive it out there and then run a hot putter style. Of course, Ricky won last year at 24 under. I think Tony Finau won the year prior at 26 under. So you're gonna see some scoring out of these guys. Field is much weaker than last week. Not an elevated event, obviously. So the exposure to some of the lesser known guys at the bottom of the board are going to lead to, I think, some opportunistic bets,
Absolutely. I think that this week we could see somebody at a big number win.
which is great. I mean, earlier in the season you saw big number guys, long shot. I think Grayson won at what 300 to 1.
Yeah.
And 150 to 1 winner, I think, was another one. So you've seen big number winners earlier in the season, and then we saw Scotty sort of take the reins and pull out a lot of different wins in different tournaments and things like that. So this is our chance to start hitting some guys at longer odds, and I guess the best way to do that is to start off with the first round leader.
Yep. So I'm going with first round leader. This guy is 80 to 1 on Bet365. He is 7,400 on DraftKings. It is Nick Dunlap.
Ha! Let's go.
Nick Dunlap is number 1 in par 5 scoring for birdie or better percentage.
Sweet ass he is.
He is number 2 in birdie or better percentage in this field. Those are both in this field. And he's number 13 in one putt percentage in this field. He had a bad putting week last week.
That's putting it lightly. Let's talk about it.
He was minus 1.77 strokes putting per round. That's an average per round. When you bleed that much with the putter in essentially a putting contest, you are going to lose.
Yeah.
And there was only one guy worse than him, and that was your boy Obear. My boy Russell Henley was down there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this week, much weaker field. He gets another good course setup for him after he putted way below his normal. He's normally like a 0 putter. He's normally, he can spike up and down a little bit, but he normally across the board is a 0 strokes gained putting, which is fine. We're looking for a spike week on a course that fits him much better at a discounted price. 7,400 DraftKings, I think, is a great price for the weak, the weakness of the field. And listen, this guy is still learning how to be a pro. He's 20 years old. 20. So I'm okay with these up and down kind of weeks from him. He's still trying to figure it out. 20 years old. He won the 2021 U.S. Junior Am. I'll tell you why that's important later. But 2021 U.S. Junior Am, 20 years old. I think this is a great spot for him. 80 to 1, first round leader, Nick Dunlap.
So I've now bet Nick Dunlap first round leader 2 weeks in a row. So I would be an absolute fool to not bet him when you're on him. So let's go for the 3rd week in the row. Nick Dunlap. Here's what I'll tell you. Go to round 4 and look at Nick Dunlap's stats. He lost over 4 strokes putting in a single round. That was round 4. But his tee to green, everything else was pretty solid.
Yep, came 1.42 on approach, 0.87 off the tee, and 0.85 around the greens. This week around the greens, if you're having to play around these greens, unfortunately, you're probably going to lose. You need to be hitting a ton of greens and having a ton of looks at birdie and obviously cashing a high percentage of them.
Yep.
So I'm not really worried about around the green this week. But yes, some off the tee green, some approach green, meaning in the positive. That's what I want to see. And the putting... Throw out the putting. The putting can be up and down, and for a guy that's normally a 0 putter to lose that many strokes putting, I don't see it happening in a weaker field.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to go with Maverick McNealy, 50 to 1, first round leader, and I'll tell you why. I know what he is as far as a putter goes, and he actually is driving the ball much better this season than I think he has in seasons past. I don't have a ton of stats. I know that he's had good finishes. His game is fairly solid right now. But the main reason that I'm picking him is because I want exposure to him, but I don't think I want it on DraftKings. I didn't know where to put my exposure to Maverick McNealy. A lot of these other guys that I'm going to be dishing out today they're not the guys at the top of the board. Maverick. I don't know what his price is on DK. I want to say it's probably
He's 8,900 on
okay.
DraftKings.
Yeah, so he's definitely priced up this week because of the weaker field. I think typically you'd see him somewhere in the sevens, mid seven range. But the exposure to Mav for me, I know you've bet him as first round leader this year. I can't remember where it was, but he can get hot with that putter, and we've seen it several times. He's somebody that can absolutely do it. Now, I will say this also about him is that in some of these finishes he's had, it is a lot of scrambling, a lot of around the green stuff. So,
He's good around the greens.
yeah, so hopefully he's just hitting the greens and we don't have to worry too much about that because, again, if you're not scoring, you're not going to keep up out here. So,
yeah, he usually is a really good putter. He's actually playing below his normal putting right now. He's still gaining, but he's around 0.2 strokes gained putting per round, which is below his normal. But that could just mean that we've got a spike week coming.
Get some regression back to the mean.
Yeah, and he's above his normal, or at least his normal for his career off the tee and on approach, gaining in both those stats as well, around 0.4 per round. So yeah, I like it. Playing good. Last three results: 23rd, 17th, 7th. So yes, I could see it. Maverick Neely is definitely a spike guy. You might get a really good round from him, and then a not so good round, but hopefully that really good one comes round one.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into favorite play. It's going to be hard this week, so I'm interested to hear what you got.
Yeah, favorite play for me. I don't even have a ton of stats to tell you about this guy, but this is just a pure talent play. He's a young guy. He's 22 years old. He played in his first professional event last week as a pro. His name is Michael Thorbjornsen. $8,000 on DraftKings. He is 80-1 to win this golf tournament on FanDuel. I have placed that bet. Like I said, he's 22 years old. He's very young. He just played his first professional event as a pro. Now, he's played in professional events in the past, even
as an amateur.
Yeah, as an amateur. And actually, when he was 18 years old in the 2019 U.S. Open, he made the cut, which I think is a pretty impressive feat. He did that at Pebble Beach, where Gary Woodland won. Also in 2023, last year, he finished T17 at the John Deere Classic. And in 2022, he finished 4th at the Travelers. This guy is legit. I watched him last week. He played in the Travelers. He was okay. He had kind of up and down.
He played with Ludwig.
Yep, typical up and down young guy trying to figure it out. He finished -8, T39. He shot +2, -6, -4, and then even. In the last round was really his bad round. Struggled ball striking, but again, that happens up and down. I'm not too worried about it. Pure talent play here. He also in 2018 won the U.S. Junior Am against none other than Akshay Bhatia. Yeah, this guy is legit. I'm looking to get him here before everybody knows his name, before everybody jumps on, and he is, $9,000, $10,000, whatever. I think $8,000 in this field specifically is below what he is. I think that he should be higher, but again, they don't have any results to prove that he should be higher. He's only got this one professional event, T39 last week. I don't think he did that great. He even in an interview, they interviewed him after, and he looked like a complete pro and was like, "Yeah, I didn't really have my best stuff this week, but hopefully I'll bounce back next week. And I know when I have my best stuff, I can compete with these guys." So it was a very confident interview, and it proved to me that he wasn't like over the moon about his T39 finish. He was almost kind of disappointed, like, yeah, I know I'm better than that, and I know I can beat these guys. And that was in a much higher strength of field last week. He gets a much easier field this week, and hopefully he can show out.
Yeah, he hit the shit out of one of the drives. They showed him and Ludwig. It was like a 346 and a 358. That is what both of them hit. I mean, it was something stupid.
Yeah, he can crank it. He does, but that's not like the only thing he does. Sometimes we see these guys that just crank it and that's kind of it. Like, no, this dude is legit. Played at Stanford. He can do it all. He's a well-rounded player, and like I said, driving distance is a bonus this week. So I love that he does that well too. But yeah, all around good player.
His dad's name is Thorbjorn Thorbjornsen.
That's a crazy name. I wouldn't mess with that guy.
Well, first of all, Thorbjorn comes from, it's like a Swedish or Icelandic name. It comes from Thor and bear. So it's like Thor Bear or Thunder Bear.
Kind of badass.
Yeah, no, it's sick. But Thor Bjornsson is like that's really.
How did they end up on Michael?
I don't know. But anyways, yeah, no, I saw this kid play a little bit last week. Like I said, he was with Ludwig. I was trying to keep all my eyes on him. I don't know a ton about him. I think he's from the Northwest region, or like he went to school there or something like that.
Yeah, like I said, he went to Stanford.
Okay.
But he was obviously incredible there. That's part of the reason he's on the PGA Tour now as a professional. He won like there's a new collegiate program, like the PGA college program or something, where you get to basically come up through the ranks that way. And that's how he's done it. He's basically the best college player last year.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because as a favorite play, people are probably thinking, what, like this guy's your favorite play? Mine's very similar as far as that goes, and it's going to be Ryan Fox. Ryan Fox, 8,200 on DraftKings. I don't know what he is to win. Let's pull that up real quick. Ryan Fox is 50-1.
Okay.
Ryan Fox he's up and down a lot. He's had some good finishes. He's had some great finishes. He's had some pretty bad finishes. In the last 24 rounds, he's third in driving distance. Again, we can say it 100,000 times. It's an advantage, regardless of what anybody wants to say. Mm-hmm. It is an advantage, especially on a course like this, where you can just get it down there and try to score and score and score. He's somewhere in the middle of the pack as far as greens and red go for this field in the last 24 rounds. But he's also gaining almost about 0.75 strokes putting over his last 24 rounds. So I'm hoping that he just throws it down there and gets it close and makes putts. That's the model here. But the reason he's my favorite play is because I think he is of the caliber or close to it as some of the guys that are a little bit more expensive on DraftKings this week, and he's only $8,200. Mm-hmm. So just with all those things combined, am I expecting Ryan Fox to go out there and dominate the field in a manner of, some of these other favorite plays that you and I have picked over the last couple months? No, but when you can combine the price on DraftKings, maybe going a little overlooked. I think the projected ownership I saw was sub 10%.
Yeah, I'm seeing 7.
Yeah, that's like
also
that's the other
also 7 on Thor Bjornsson.
Yeah, that's the other consideration, is that I think he is of the same caliber as some of those guys at the top that are going to be getting 20, 18, 15, whatever, and he's going to be well under that. So if that holds true, then he is absolutely my favorite play, and I think he's got a legit shot to contend this week.
Yeah, if nothing else, he is a great course fit. He has not played here, but he is an off the tee guy and a good putter. So if we're saying that we're looking for some distance, some spike putting, he's a good course fit for sure. I guess we'll see how that plays out. He's played pretty decent in his last 4 starts, 75th, 32nd, 7th, 56th. He gets a lesser field here. His last event was the U.S. Open, 56th. Yeah, I could see it.
Did you say he did a second place in there?
7th. At the Canadian Open.
Gotcha. All right. All right, let's jump into top 20.
So my top 20 play this week, this was almost my favorite play, but I don't love his price as much as Thor Bjornsson, but it's Taylor Pendrith. He is 9,600 on DraftKings, plus 140, top 20. He spikes in some of the stats that I've said that I believe to be important this week. He is 18th in this field in par 5 birdie or better percentage, 17th in birdie or better percentage, and 8th in one putt percentage. Last week, he finished T23 of the Travelers, minus 12. He had a bad round 4, only 1 under on his final round. Kind of hurt his overall finish. He was kind of right there, at least for a top 10. And he's got great course history. His last 2 starts here, he finished 2nd and 14th. This is just a really good course fit for him. He's going to be probably a popular play, honestly, but I don't mind that. He's a good off the tee guy. And the thing about Taylor Pendrith is his putting has really come around nicely. He is one of the best putters in this field. And if you kind of go back maybe a couple of years, that wasn't really his game. He was kind of just a distance guy, and it was kind of like, I'll figure out the rest later. But his putting, I'm seeing his last 24 rounds, he is 6th in this field, which is kind of incredible. So hopefully he keeps that hot putting going and can contend. Like I said, I will have him on DraftKings. Also, plus 140, pretty good number, top 20. So yeah, Taylor Pendrith is my pick.
He won Byron Nelson. Which one was it?
He did. He won Byron
Okay.
Nelson. I mean, his last couple results, we can go back to the Zurich. He finished 11th there, won the Byron Nelson, 10th at Wells Fargo, missed the cut at the PGA, 21st at Canadian Open, 33rd at the Memorial, 16th at the U.S. Open, 23rd at the Travelers. I mean, he's been cranking out
Yeah, he's on a
good result after good result. So I'm just looking for that to continue
Yeah, I think TBC
in a
Craig,
lesser field too.
TBC Craig Ranch is Byron Nelson, if I'm not mistaken, and there is some crossover on that.
Mhm.
Yeah, Pendrith. He was almost my first round leader.
Glad to see we're on the same page.
Yeah, so I have no problem getting to that. I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper for top 20. And this name's gonna just bear with me here. Adam Schenk plus 280, top 20.
Okay.
Adam Schenk was not even on my radar. I had no idea he played in the Travelers last week. But the reason I was shocked to find out that he played last week is because he has been on my radar kind of early on in the season. If you go back to before his last 4 events prior to the Travelers, he was on a streak of three missed cuts and OWD before the Travelers, and before that he had 4 top 20s and a top 10. At the Travelers last week, in his final round, he shot a 64. So
Okay.
clearly he found something, and he also gained off the tee for the first time in 3 starts, gaining 1.13 strokes off the tee. Pretty neutral or close to it as far as the putter goes. For the tournament, not sure what he did in the 4th round when he shot that 64, but I would assume he gained quite a bit putting in the final round.
Yeah, Shank for the week at the Travelers lost about a half a shot per round putting. His best stat was off the tee, gaining about a shot a round.
Okay. What did he do? What did he do with the putter round 4?
Putter round 4. He had a good day.
Okay.
Gained over 2.
So
Probably one of the best, honestly.
I will
that
also
day.
be betting Adam Schenk to finish within the top 10 after round 1. So that's just a quick
Top
little
10
nugget.
round 1. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure what that number is. I can pull it real quick, but he also finished 7th here last year. So, I think that's maybe his best finish by quite a significant
I
margin.
feel like this time last year he went on a pretty good stretch of golf. Yeah, he has struggled recently.
But if you look before the struggles, and you can kind of see it too, it's like he was losing off the tee. He was losing on approach. Last week, he actually gained off the tee, which is something that he's done in the better finishes he's had this season. So,
Yeah, when a guy is struggling, you really do have to deep dive these strokes gain numbers
Right.
and find something positive, find something to look forward to. Is he continuing to lose across the board, or maybe on his good rounds, is he only having a good round because he caught a hot putter? Those are the kind of things you need to look for.
Mhm.
And yeah, to see a little bit of a spike off the tee is definitely good news, and hopefully he can keep it going.
where is he for top 10 after round 1?
Adam Schenk, worst stat, by the way, is around the green last 24 rounds. And we've discussed that we really don't care that much about around the green this week, because if you're having to play around the green and get up and down a ton, you're not in contention to win this golf tournament.
He is 7-1 to finish within the top 10 after round 1. So I will, and I'm sure you can get a boost on 365 like I've used in the past.
Yep, 365 every week has at least a 30%
Yep,
boost
I-
on one bet.
Last week was my first miss on a end of round 1 finish position in 3 weeks. So hopefully Shank can bring me back to hitting on that. So yeah, Adam Shank. I like I said, I didn't know he was playing last week. I found some positives from what we have seen earlier in the season and similar to last year. So hopefully he found something, especially coming off of a final round 64 at the Travelers.
All right. So we can go over to top 40 / long shot.
Yeah, top 40 this week because it's a better market.
Yeah, we're back to full field here. There's going to be a cut, which I love personally.
Yeah.
Last week I was so up and down. Like, I obviously ended up winning a decent amount of money, but like at one point I was winning like $50 in like round 2. So it fluctuated so much. It was
Right.
almost annoying, but in the end it worked out. So I'm not mad about it. But at least these cut events, you kind of know when you go into Saturday, you're either like feeling real good, or you're like, oh, it's over, I don't
Yep,
care.
yep. I felt like it was over pretty much after Saturday. So
Yeah. All right. So top 40 for me this week. They've changed his name on DraftKings.
Huh?
It's now S Kim instead of SH Kim. I guess we got so many Kims going now. We're trying to figure out ways to identify them. But it's S Kim on DraftKings, 6,400. He is plus 130, top 40. Good stats here for him. This course kind of sets up nicely for him. He is 8th in this field in par 5, birdie or better percentage, and 3rd in this field in one putt percentage. He made the cut at the U.S. Open, which was not really a great course fit for him, but he found a way to make it work. T56. Yeah, he just has little stats that I'm kind of liking. 4th at the Byron Nelson. Yeah, he's just been kind of solid, and this price down here, 6,400, in a way lesser field than he's been playing in. I like it.
yeah, Billy accidentally bet him at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, she did. She did accidentally bet him instead of Sungjae Im, which actually was a better bet in the end because Im was terrible.
Yeah, he was -1 after round 1. So
Yeah, so
it's funny because he is the reason that I knew that he was SH Kim on DraftKings Sportsbook, I was like, because I'd already looked at him. So yes, he is on my radar, and it is different. It's S Kim on DraftKings.
he was SH Kim.
But it's still SH Kim on Sportsbook, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Which is so confusing. Why would they do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, no, I 100% agree that, and plus 130, that's a really solid number. He's put together a decent amount of finishes, and shows that he can do it on kind of various courses.
And
so.
again, this is a lesser field than him. He actually plays in these other events. He played in the U.S. Open. He played in the PGA. He made the cut at the PGA. He plays in all these events. This is not like he just shows up for a couple that they allow him to play and that he's qualified for. Like, he's a consistent PGA Tour pro, and he made the cut at the PGA, made the cut at the U.S. Open, 4th at the Byron, and he's a good putter. Like, he's one of the best in this field putting. So yeah, I think it's a good course fit, and he's also one of the best in this field in par 5 birdie or better percentage. So I think it's a good fit, and I'll take it. S Kim.
Yeah, I am going to go for more of a narrative play here. And it is going to be Gary Woodland, top 40.
Gary on the kick drum.
Gary on the kick drum, top 40 plus 175. Gary is obviously, this is his first season back since having a tumor removed from his brain.
Yeah. Which is just a wild sentence.
Yeah. Yes, it is. He, in an interview, I think after the Wells Fargo, he said that he admittedly think that he came back too early, and that the Wells Fargo was really kind of telling of how bad he was in 2023 from a symptom standpoint. He said that he just felt so bad, and that the Wells Fargo was really kind of the first tournament where he felt like it was so much better from feeling perspective.
Good.
But he's got 3 starts at this tournament and has missed a cut in every single one.
Yeah, not good course history.
But he's currently, I don't know what he is in the field, but he is up there in driving distance.
Let's see.
And he has also got a decent putter going right now. I think over the last 3 rounds, gaining almost over a stroke.
He is number 2 in this field in driving distance last 24 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, that if you would have asked me that, like if Gary
No.
Woodland is a distance guy, I would have said no, he's an accuracy guy.
Yeah, I knew he was a distance guy, but I definitely would not have said second. Like second, that's impressive.
Yeah.
I would have said like maybe top 20, 30, something like that. But
And maybe it works out, maybe it
second
doesn't.
stout.
But I'm going, like I said, it's more of a narrative play. I think this is the type of tournament he could really, if he's truly feeling better than what he was, weaker field. Gary Woodland is a better golfer than $6,100 and plus 175 to finish top 40, but he's just got to get back to that point. And I'm hoping he does, and I'm hoping he does it this week. So
yeah,
Gary
this is a major championship winner. I mean, this guy won
Yeah.
the U.S. Open.
was that 2019?
Yeah, that was the one that Thor Bjornsson made the cut when he was 18 years old, 2019, Pebble Beach. Yeah, Gary has struggled around the green. But
So there we go.
We don't really care about around the green this week. That's probably why he missed the cut at the U.S. Open, because he couldn't get up and down from anywhere. Before that, 38th, 60th, 45th, 51st. Yeah, he's putting great. I will say that. Putting has been his best attribute recently. He's around 10th in this field putting last 24 rounds. Yeah, and he's just, like I said, his worst has been around the green. The guy can knock it up and down, but if you're having to get up and down this week,
you're pretty much dead anyway.
Done anyways. So 6,100, very cheap if you have to go down here for Gary Woodland.
And you almost don't because of the way that the pricing is set up this week.
It goes down to $5,000.
Let's go ahead and we'll just jump into that's the board. It'll be posted on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. If you're watching this video on YouTube right now, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Listening on Spotify, make sure you like and rate. We can talk about DraftKings because it's kind of weird this week that they've gone down to the 5K range when there's nobody in the 13 range. The most expensive golfer is $11,000 and it's Tom Kim.
Yeah, having Tom Kim at $11,000 at the top of the board and then going down to $5,000 gives you a wide range this week. A very interesting way to do it. I'm not sure why they did, but whatever. This is a weird kind of field anyways. I'm showing Tom Kim, though, as a very high-owned golfer.
Like 30%.
Higher, I'm showing 39%, which I don't know if he'll stay at that number. That could just be, again, we're recording this on Tuesday. This is kind of a early projection, but I don't know, dude.
So here's what
Tom Kim in the upper 30s in this field is kind of.
Here's what I'll tell you, and this is why it's probably showing that. I've reserved a 3-entry max, and I've already built my lineups. On every single lineup, I got down to that last slot, and I had well over $11,000.
Because the field is, first off, it's weaker, so there's only, just looking at the board here, there's only like maybe like 15 guys over $8,000. Like the gaps in between these guys' prices is kind of crazy, where there's a ton of guys between 6,000. Like look at the 6,000 range. There must be like 40, 50 guys in the 6,000s. Like,
so then is the strategy to like not even consider using? Normally I don't use the entire salary on DraftKings, but I think this week you could see somebody with a winning lineup that's going to have a massive gap in available salary.
Available salary is always a good option. It's a dangerous game, but I don't mind it. If you leave 500 on the table or something like that, I don't mind that. I wouldn't go crazy and leave like 1,000. I would really look at your options and see what you got. But I think a good DraftKings strategy this week is to really play around in, like we've said, in the $8,000 range, the 8,000s and the 9,000s. Looks like that's where the ownership's really going to drop off. I mean, Thor Bjornsson 7%, Fox 7%, Kirk 12%, Griffin's 10%. These are the guys that are kind of lower owned than maybe they should be. Yeah, I don't know. You're getting that real high percentage in Tom Kim, around 39. Then Cam Young 24, Minwoo I'm showing 24, which I don't think that's going to end up happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if it stays at 20.
What about Akshay?
Noren's upper 20s, Akshay's upper 20s, Pendrith low 20s, Jaeger low 20s, Zal's around 13, Ricky's around 10. I think that so many, like looking at the percentage, the ownership projections here, so many guys are starting at the very top of the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then just mixing and matching in the $6,000 range. And if you have to go down here in the $5,000 range, you can. There are a ton of options. I mean, there's so many guys. The $5,000 and $6,000 range, there must be 80 guys. Like there's so many guys down here because it's such ridiculous. A weak field because they're all kind of the same guy in a way.
Right.
They're all the bottom feeders on the PGA Tour that, you know, sometimes can show up a little bit and make a cut. But yeah, we'll see. I will be playing a lot in the $9,000 and $8,000 range. Like I'll probably have a more balanced build than most people. I'll really focus on the $9,000 and $8,000 range to have a balanced build instead of having a very top heavy build and diving down in the 6,000.
So who's going to be your guy in the 9K range?
The 9K range, I will have obviously Pendrith, who I mentioned. I will have some Akshay. I will have some Yiger. I will sprinkle Zalatoris, although I'm cautiously optimistic on him. I won't have any Ricky. I'll have some Mav at eight. He's at 8-9. Those will be my guys. I really don't think I'm going to go to the top of the board. I maybe a little bit of Tom Kim because he did have a good week. Like I said, we can go ahead and dive into that. If you're thinking about picking Tom Kim this week, I don't hate it. Other than his ownership potentially being higher than what I believe it should be, he gained 2.6 strokes tee to green. That was his average per round. That was number one in the field last week over Scotty, over Tom Hoge, my guy, over Brian Harmon, even Aubert, who was striking the ball but just couldn't putt. Yeah, Tom Kim was number one. So again, there's no reason to not go back to Tom Kim here, other than maybe if we think he gets a little over-owned. I think the play is not to pick Tom Kim and then another one of these guys. Like, it's hard to say don't. But for me, I wouldn't go Tom Kim and then Cam Young and then dive down in the $5,000 and $6,000 range. Like, that just doesn't feel like the right play to me. I don't know what you think. What were you thinking at the top of the board? Who do you like and who do you hate?
I mean, I hate the ownership on Tom Kim, but like I said, every time I start building, I'm left with $11,700, and I'm like, okay, I can't not pick him.
I think the percentage I'm seeing is probably higher than what it will end up being. Like I'm in my head, I'm thinking 30. Just the fact that it's in the 30s is insane. But I'm thinking like 33. That's my guess. But again, Tom Kim led the field in tee to green last week, so he's playing good. It's not like we're fading a bad golfer. Now Cameron Young maybe didn't play as good as you would think. You know, he's right under Tom Kim. He barely gained on approach for the entire week. It was mostly off the tee and around the greens. He was a zero putter. His approach was eh.
I'm literally looking for any reason not to play Tom Kim at this point. Like, I'm kind of just going through and seeing he gained in total 3.97 strokes across the entire tournament. That's ridiculous. Like, that's a massive number to gain.
He played great. Yeah, there is statistically no reason not to go back to him, I guess is what I'm saying. So
yeah,
I don't mind. Like, for me, I don't think I'm going to have any Young, any Minwoo, or any Noren, but I will have some Tom Kim. That's just me. What are you thinking?
I don't think I'm going to have any Tom Kim.
Okay.
Because I just don't think there's any way that he can do that again. That's perfect ball striking, like all across the board. I mean, the thing that he was not so great at last week, he was still gaining half a shot per round, which is around the green. Now, again, I'm mostly trying to talk myself into not having him so I can get away from massive ownership. But at the same time, it's like how do you do it in a strategic way where you're not leaving so much of that DraftKings money on the table?
I think the best way to do it would be to have somebody in your lineup that is like not as popular, like Ryan Fox. Like if you pick Tom Kim,
I'm gonna be with Fox
and Ryan Fox, you're already a little different. Like your lineup will already be different than if we're saying there's 33%, your lineup with Ryan Fox will be different than 80% or 90% of those lineups that have Tom Kim.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Like
now just really try and don't go Tom Kim and then Akshay and then who else is going to be popular? Maybe Taylor Moore, EVR. I don't know who else is going to be popular down the board here, but just try not to go to these super obvious plays that are going to end up being a repeated lineup. And yeah, like I said, if you're picking Tom Kim, that's totally fine. He's a great golfer and he's playing great right now, but make sure you throw in somebody into that lineup that you don't think is as obvious. Even if it's just one guy, just to make that lineup different than somebody else.
Yeah, I think they made a mistake in the pricing going all the way down to the 5K range with the most expensive golfer being 11. And not only that, there's just not that many guys above 9K.
No.
So they could have done it in a way. I mean, not that it really matters. It doesn't really affect anything. 'Cause
I
you
think they
can't-
just had a hard time differentiating these guys.
Yeah.
Like I think they had a hard time saying like, how do we price?
Patrick Fishburne.
Like how do you price Eric Cole versus Cameron Champ or like Gary Woodland or these guys that are just these JJ Spawns and of the world that just like they are in these tournaments but they're not in these tournaments. It's hard to say one guy is for sure better than the other guy.
Yeah, no, that 6K range is super muddy, and but I think there's guys down there. I mean, you got like KH Lee is 6,400, coming off some pretty poor finishes, but had some really good finishes earlier in the year. Ninth at Valspar. You got Justin Lauer down here, Toasty, Chandler Phillips,
Yeah, I think Toasty is somebody at the bottom of the board that I will have. Just a heads up.
because he's a masher off the tee.
He's a distance guy. He's been playing fairly well recently, but yeah, he's an off the tee guy with a spike putter. Not so good around the greens, but I don't care. Yeah, last two starts 73rd, 17th. He's cheap.
All right, let's talk about this guy, and then that will wrap it up. Keith Mitchell. Talk to me about Keith Mitchell.
I like Keith Mitchell this week. He will be semi-popular, but Keith Mitchell is number 5 in this field off the tee in his last 24 rounds. He is gaining 0.6 on approach. His putting, he's losing a little bit putting. 10th at the Canadian Open, 37 before that. Missed cut at the PGA, 20th at the Byron, 28th at the Zurich. He's still like, we've always known that Keith is like an off the tee approach guy. Like he always hits the ball good, but can he putt? I think we're getting a much lesser field here for him. I think it's a good spot for Keith. 8,500 DraftKings. I don't mind it. He will be semi-popular, probably around 20% owned. I really don't care. He's a good play this week.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the guys that kind of jumped out to me when I was first scrolling through and seeing everything.
Yeah, like I'll go ahead and give you my like guys that we didn't really mention, like honorable mentions for me. Akshay's playing good. I wouldn't mind that. Jaeger statistically checks out this week. He's also has good course history, 9th and 5th last 2 years. You mentioned Maverick. I like that as well. Keith Mitchell, you mentioned. Interesting spot here for Kirk, potential bounce back, great course history. Discount because he didn't play good last week, although he was on my winning lineup that won me $850.
Yeah, I
So
saw
shout out Chris Kirk. That was good.
You got to go back to him just for the good vibes.
I might have to. I'll probably sprinkle him on some lineups because it's a great course fit for him. So hopefully he can find some magic. Trying to think who else down here.
How do you feel about Daniel Berger?
Mentioned Dunlap. Berger is, let's see. Yeah, putter's been kind of an issue, but approach has been good, gaining 0.76 per round on approach, gaining 0.34 off the tee. Yeah, 21st at the U.S. Open. Yeah, I don't mind that. 7,000, pretty cheap.
When you say putter's been an issue, how bad has it been?
The last 24 rounds, losing 0.59 per round. Let's see if we back it up a little bit. Last 36 rounds, if it gets better or worse. It gets worse. So that's actually a good thing because that means it's
trending in the right direction.
It's getting a little bit better. Let's see, last 12 rounds.
I mean, at one point, Daniel Berger was like,
he was a real guy.
Yeah, he was a legit golfer with, when you're picking these guys week in and week out, he was up there with like your Justin Thomases, and we saw him for a while in a more expensive, in a more revered light, especially from a contention standpoint. But
yeah, I will have some Berger. Lee Hodges right here, 7,100. I'll also have some Lee Hodges. Last 5 starts: 24th, 12th, 45th, 31st.
He played pretty well at PGA Championship, right?
Yeah, 12th.
Yeah,
12th at the PGA. He's been pretty good, and we're getting a lesser field for him here. He's been playing in the big events. He's played the Travelers, the Memorial, the PGA. Was not qualified for the U.S. Open, but he's a legit golfer down here at 7,100. You got any bombs this week? Any like Like I honestly, I don't think. I don't know about you, but I don't think that I will go into the $5,000 range this
I'm not
week
touching it.
on DraftKings. So I haven't even really looked down here to see if there's any guys.
When
down
you say
here.
bomb, you mean like
Somebody who's just like completely off the radar that is like 300 to 1 to win this golf tournament.
I mean, I'm gonna look at Andrew Novak. He's got 3 top tens, and earlier this season, starting to kind of round it back out. Finished 14th at Canadian. I don't know what he is to win, but as far as these deep diver on DraftKings, I don't know if I have. I mean, maybe Jake Knapp. He was he opened at like 125 to 1, which if you're gonna kind of picture a guy that's bomb it down there and maybe make some putts, like I don't know. It could work out for him, although he's not in great form. He's just kind of on and off on a regular basis. Cam Champ, this feels like a good spot for Cam Champ.
It does feel like a better spot.
Driver
for Cam.
putter. I mean,
yeah, it's a better spot for him than normal.
So maybe throw something out there on him. Yeah, I don't have a ton. I mean, like I said, I'm going mostly with the guys that I've already done a parlay for Adam Schenk top 20, Gary Woodland top 40, and that was like plus 980.
Yeah, I've only placed one bet as we're talking here. I've only placed Thorbjornsen to win 80 to 1. That's the only bet I've placed, but I will obviously place these other ones and make some more lineups.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw in our first round leaders. Feeling pretty good about you mentioning Nick Dunlap because I wanted to give him another look, but like when he's kind of not done it for me 2 weeks in a row.
80 to 1 on 365, maybe throw a little boost on that,
Yeah.
and that could be a big one.
Yeah. If you look at and I'm gonna mention this again, I've said it before. If you guys are gonna take my round finishing position bets, I am gonna do Adam Schenk. Feel free to take Dunlap or Matt McNeely and throw it in there. BetMGM does pay all ties in full on the first round leader finishing position. So if you bet, Matt McNeely to finish top 5 after round 1, it's probably like a plus 800, 900 figure, which is going to be a little bit less than what you get on these other books, but it is going to pay all ties in full if he does finish T5. So it's a little nugget for you.
Good to know.
All right. Well, good luck, everybody. We will do this again next week for the John Deere Classic. We appreciate you always tuning in, and stay tuned for more.